Hello there, my name is Armando Lacerda and welcome to Lacerda's Data Labs. In this channel, we'll talk about data platform, we talk about data engineering, we talk about SQL Server, we talk about Azure AI, and many other topics around Microsoft Cloud. In today's video, I want to address a particular question that I get quite often when I'm presenting at conferences or when I'm running a project with one of my customers. And they come and ask, what should we use? Should we get our data in the Lakehouse or in the warehouse? Especially when it comes to Microsoft Fabric. They come, they want to start a project in Fabric, and they're like, where should I keep my data? And that's a valid question, but somewhat misled, because it gives the impression that we can store data in two different places in Fabric. As a matter of fact, Fabric does have different storage places for some other engines, but when it comes to the Lakehouse and the warehouse, it's not really like that. So I think the best way to answer the question is to go show you a demo, run a demo, and we see how those two options, the Lakehouse and the warehouse, they really work. So come with me here to my desktop and let's take a look at this demo. So here I'm in Microsoft Fabric already, using a demo account that I have created there. And I already have a workspace already created here for us. And in this workspace, I have a Lakehouse and I have a warehouse. They're already there waiting for us. But they're empty. If I look into the Lakehouse here, you see I got no tables. Let's make sure, do a refresh. I got no tables there. And if I go to the warehouse, same thing. If I look here into the warehouse, so now I got my warehouse there, and I look here into the tables, and I see nothing, right? They are both empty, the Lakehouse and the warehouse, so they're both empty. So let's go ahead and populate those two storage places. Let's go and populate them with data coming from a storage account. So I have a storage account up there in Azure. I have synthetic data about sales, and I created this pipeline here to bring that data in. So I'm going to run this pipeline, and this pipeline will get the data, in the same data, both in the Lakehouse and the warehouse. So if you look into them here, this is to the warehouse, the data destination is the warehouse, and this one here, the data destination is the Lakehouse. And once again, this is the point I'm trying to tell you that is a bit misleading, right? It says the data destination is either the Lakehouse or the warehouse. I'm gonna send data to both, and we're gonna see what actually happens. Let's run this. All right, there we go. We have both the Lakehouse and the warehouse successfully completed, the copy task already completed, and the data is in. We brought about 10 gigabytes of data, 100 million rows, and they're all in both places. Now, this screen tells us that is the data destination, right? Is where the data is. But in the Fabric infrastructure, right, in the Fabric service, there is this particular service called the onelake. And the onelake is where the data is actually stored. Data is not stored in the Lakehouse, data is not stored in the warehouse. They are processed by both engines, the Lakehouse and the warehouse, and stored into onelake. So let me show you that. Let's go back here to the computer. Let's switch to this application that is offered for free from Microsoft. It's called Azure Storage Explorer. So here in the Storage Explorer, I'm already connected with the same account I was using in Fabric, so I have access to whatever is there in onelake in Fabric, as long as I have the links. And now I'm going to connect to the onelake. And in order to connect to onelake, I need to authenticate using my account, and I need to tell where is the grid, the identifier for my onelake, for my environment. So I'm going to go back to Fabric here. I'm going to pick the Lakehouse, for instance. And here in the Lakehouse, if I do a refresh on the table, I will see that the sales table is there, it was populated. And if I go into the Properties tab of the table, I see here the URL to connect, to refer to the storage place where the data for this Lakehouse is. So I'm gonna copy this guy from here and go back to Azure Storage Explorer. I'm gonna call this my onelake. And I'm gonna copy here that URL that was there. As you can see, the URL points straight to the table, but I don't want to be limited to the table. I want to see everything that is in the workspace. So this one here is the Lakehouse ID, and what is before this one is actually the workspace where my onelake information is. So I'm gonna go hit next in here and finish it. It connected, and there we are. We're looking at the onelake file system through Azure Storage Explorer. And as you can see, there is somebody else in there that is not my Lakehouse or the warehouse. Two of them are, one of them is my Lakehouse, the other one is my warehouse. There's another one that somebody else has created for another demo, probably me. So let's check which one is mine. I'm gonna go back here and I'm gonna inspect this URL here. And this URL says that 21CE is my Lakehouse, right? I'm browsing the Lakehouse. And if I go down here to the warehouse and look at the properties of the table, again, but for the warehouse in this case, here's the URL. And if I inspect this URL here, I see that D302 is the one for the warehouse. So if I look down here, I see the D302 for the warehouse. So this is where the data for the warehouse is stored. So I see I have a tables folder in here, and this is a file system. It's like OneDrive, right? DBO is the schema represented in a folder. Here's my sales table, the same table we see there. And now I can see that the warehouse, when it writes, it creates a folder structure. So there's a grid here. When it writes my Delta table, it creates a folder structure in there, some partitioning going on until I actually get to the Parquet files where the data is. So this is how the warehouse has stored my data, right? It created this folder structure, created some partition, and that is my data over there. Now, if I go back, let's go back here to the Explorer. If I go back here to my onelake and let's switch back up here a few levels. There we go. And we go to the 21CB that we have seen before. This is my Lakehouse, the other one. So notice both the Lakehouse and the warehouse, they are in the same place in onelake. But when I look at the Lakehouse and I look into the tables, I go straight to the table because the Spark engine doesn't have the concept of schemas like SQL Server does. So it goes straight to the table. And when I go into the table, I see that it's written in a different way. Like if you can recall, the warehouse had this folder structure and some kind of a partitioning going on in there. Here, I did not define any partitioning schema, no strategy, partitioning strategy. So we just dumped the data right there at the sales folder representing the Delta table, and the data is right there. So at the end of the day, when we bring our data into Fabric, regardless if we do the Lakehouse or the warehouse, the data will come in. Either engine or both will process the data using their own handwriting, their own way of writing the information, and they both store the data at the same place, which is the onelake. So the bottom line of this demo and this video is to make sure you understand that regardless if you use the Lakehouse or the warehouse, data is always stored in onelake. What makes them different is how they write. And I kind of compare this in this slide with handwriting, right? If I write something, you write something else. We have different handwritings. We both end up writing on the same piece of paper, in this case, onelake. We can both understand each other. So the Lakehouse and the warehouse, they can query data from each other at any point in time. I can actually go back here to Fabric. And for instance, here from the Lakehouse, I can go ahead. Actually, this is the warehouse. From the warehouse, I can go ahead and connect to the Lakehouse that I have there, confirm, and it will pop up in here. Here's the Lakehouse, and that's my, yeah, it's called the Lakehouse, and I have, we know there is no schema in there, so it's simulating schema, and there is a sales table there. So I can do select, count star, even though I'm the warehouse, I can go refer to the lake, let's go back there, from Lakehouse, DBO, sales. And this sales is the one that was written by the Lakehouse, and I'm reading it from the warehouse, and we'll count the rows there for us, and we get the final results. As you can see, they can both read from each other. They can share information among themselves. They have a different way of writing, but the actual data destination is the OneLake. It's not the Lakehouse or the warehouse. It's actually OneLake. So bottom line, next time someone asks you, which way should I go, Lakehouse or the warehouse? You can say it doesn't matter. They all are going to be stored in OneLake, and they will be available for the entire Fabric infrastructure. What would be your actual criteria to decide which one to use? It's your team. If your team is composed by data engineers, your data engineer, they're more likely will rather work with Lakehouse because there's a Spark engine in there. If your data engineers, they are coming from the SQL background, they've been doing SQL data warehouse for a while, more likely they want to use the warehouse because the warehouse is SQL friendly, right? It's T-SQL, the regular T-SQL we all know, and they can work from there using an environment that's familiar to them. At the end of the day, performance is pretty comparable to both of them. You have more flexibility in the Lakehouse because it's designed to deal with data that's not just structured, but unstructured as well, while the warehouse is pretty much designed to work with data that is structured only. So for those other topics, we're gonna have other videos come up down the road, and I hope this one here has helped you to understand that the Lakehouse and the warehouse, they store data in OneLake. They write in different ways, using different techniques for distinct purpose. But at the end of the day, the data is in OneLake, available to any other engine inside Fabric. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. I love you to leave your comments down below here on YouTube, and follow us on Instagram. We got a channel there where I do some of these videos, and also, you know, I vlog my travels when I go to conferences in these places. And I see you in the next one.